I want to welcome you to Unscripted Power Television. I'm Glenn Brooks, and I've always been curious, by the way, what makes people more alive? What allows people to tap into their creative pulse? And one of the people who facilitates and opens my creative pulse is Rose Rivera, who's is my friend. Hazel would say is brilliant. That's what Hazel says about people like you, Rose. So, as my producer and co-host and co-idea generator, inquisitor, co-wizard. So, I've always been interested in people's stories, particularly when I was at school, because I used to bring my own books to school. I always felt the books they gave me were tremendously boring. So I brought my own books to school, and I hid the books that I was interested in their books. And so I guess early on I just read a lot of people's stories. And there was one in particular, a guy named Paul Bragg. And Paul Bragg shared a story of having tuberculosis and just kind of being very disconnected from life. And I guess his journey back to living fully and questioning touched me. I figured I'd ask you that, Rose, because I know you have degrees, but you have this spark of curiosity. I'm having the pleasure of watching some of your videos right now. Before we have the honor of introducing our featured demonstration journey, our story of the day, Pat Andersen, what do you want to share with the audience about you? What keeps Rose Rivera so alive?
Sure. And thank you, Glenn. Always, you have such a fantastic introduction. So one of the things that I like to do, especially when we're here on this show, is really, like we say, go beyond the formula. So go beyond what is culturally expected, what's expected by our gender, what's expected by our communities, all of those sorts of things. So that's really what keeps me going, is digging into that, uncovering what I believe are just cognitive falsehoods, so to speak, and getting into the heart of what makes us human, and then what can transition us out of the way we've always been, which is very survivalistic and competitive, and into more abundance, both personally as well as in the physical world. So that's what I always look for, is where people are connecting with that deeper message and shifting over.
You'd be a neighbor that I'd be visiting regularly. Pat Andersen, it seems like early on, Pat, you had an unfortunate thing occur. I guess your father brought home Agent Orange to your house for, I guess back 40 years ago, whatever it was, Agent Orange was not understood as a chemical and environmental toxin. It was, I guess, like many things, we just didn't know. And so early in your life, you had a kind of a shock. You had I guess they call it now chemical sensitivity, environmental illness. But you clearly, over the last period of time, you seem like you really are spirited in your inquiry about things that really help families and people. And how would you introduce yourself to people? You're so spirited. What would you share with people about yourself that you feel they need to know about you?
I think the biggest thing is I'm a nonconformist. I tend to go my way, and I don't always do what's the norm. I need to do what is right for me. And as you said, I was exposed to Agent Orange in 1967. And so I've had many different bouts of cancer throughout my lifetime. And being a nonconformist, it was kind of interesting because the doctor said, we're going to do chemo, we're going to do radiation, and your hair's going to fall out. And I'm 15 years of age. I am the most conceited 15-year-old you ever met. I've got hair way past my waist, and my hair's going to fall out? I just don't think so. And so I opted out of their traditional, because they told me basically I was going to die anyway. So I said, well, I'm going to die with my hair on. And so I went home and I started studying. And even at that age, I was smart enough to know that I needed to help myself. And so I started researching herbs, and you name it, I researched it. And every time my cancer would come back, I had no problem of getting it cut out. Like, get it gone. Go take it out of my body. And let me then find a way to repair and build my immune system, afterwards. I can do that myself. I feel sorry for doctors. There's a lot of great doctors out there, and I'm very, very fortunate to be able to work with them that really care. But they do not get the education on nutrition. And that to me is really sad. I always say when I'm talking to people, if the doctors of today do not become the nutritionalists of tomorrow, the nutritionalists of today will be the doctors of tomorrow. We need to learn more and more about what we should put in our body to combat some of the elements that are coming into us that we don't need to. So it's been my life journey, I think, of trust me, I don't tell people what to do. That is their journey. But if they ask me questions of, what are you doing? What kind of foods? What should we do with our kids? Then I'm there to just assist them in any way possible.
I was just taking all that in, Rose.
Yeah, that's a very compelling story. What it makes me think of is we had a guest on the show, I want to say either last week or the week before, and she was a pharmacist and came to very much the same conclusions. And she came out of school basically thinking, I knew nothing about nutrition. I knew nothing about how to actually heal the body. I just know how to push pills. And she, she went through this whole discovery process herself and felt really angry, having gone through school, spent all of this money only to basically be a salesperson for the pharmaceuticals. So it's you're hitting on the same topic, which is so huge right now. Doctors, they're very good at one thing that they've learned, and they're just not in the venue of true healing.
Yeah, and I'm really fortunate. I work with a lot of pharmacists, and don't get me wrong, there are times we need pills. We do, but to me, it's like, okay, let's take that pill short term. And let's go to the root of the problem, not to mask the problem. And that is the problem, is because now they take one pill, then they need another one to come back with side effects. Instead of just taking that one, let's find out why you got that problem, and then let's deal with it, and let's try to reverse it. Let's try to fix it, let the body fix it, I should say, with proper nutrition. So it's coming.
How do you seem to be, you express the wonder of life through your voice and your facial expressions. What keeps you distinct? It's a tricky question, because I'm just curious what keeps you so alive and kind of vital right now. Did you have something happen that kind of educated you about how to see this from your mind or your soul in a different way? Like, did something early on happen that keep you? A lot of people, I was very good friends with Dr. Nick Gonzalez, who was a nutritional oncologist who left Sloan Kettering to do nutrition. And he told me a lot of people die when they get diagnosed. And he said a lot of oncologists are very scared of cancer. What keeps your spirit? What keeps your will so alive?
Well, I guess, I've always had the philosophy of living one day at a time. And you've got to be the best that you can be each day. Now, don't get me wrong. There's days when I just want to crawl in a hole. But if you ever saw me, you would never know that's how I feel. When my mom was dying of pancreatic cancer from this Agent Orange, I said to her, okay, well, let's do all the different things that I did. And she says, no, Pat, she says, the doctors said that I'm going to die. Well, guess what? 8 months later, she died. That made me so mad. Absolutely. I could have done that. And I see it happening so often. Doctors should never use that word, you're going to die, because that puts it into the brain, and then the brain's your biggest healer. And it's already saying, no, you can't heal yourself, because, it's already in there that you're going to die. So we've got to get into the right frame of mind. I do a lot of, I read a lot. I've done a lot of, self-improvement, all different types of things like that. And it's a mind over matter. Your brain is the biggest healer that there is. We just need to use it. So, it excites me of what we can do, but you have to want it. You have to want it.
You relate, Rose?
Oh, absolutely. I can't imagine ever looking at someone and saying, well, you're going to die. because regardless of what the circumstances are that they're currently facing, I'm a true believer in what you believe comes true. So to say something and give somebody a death sentence like that is something that I think they just do. They just blanket do. And I know from their perspective, they don't think they're actually harming anyone. They're just giving the facts as they see them. But it's like this doom that, like you said, it puts it right into their nervous system, right into their brain, right into their immune system and how they respond. And then that, you know, your body does what you tell it to do.
Totally. It's right in your cells. Yeah. And so instead, to me, it's like, okay, you know, we're going to have some challenges. There's nothing wrong with having challenges. And so the doctors to me should go, now it's going to be a big challenge. There's things that you're going to have to do that you're going to have to be out of your comfort zone to do them. Are you willing to try it? Are you willing to work with us? Are you willing to change your lifestyle? You know, on and on and on. So you've got to give that positive message to a person that has a terminal illness so that they're always striving to be better, striving, you know, to get well. And that's what it's about. I've seen some unbelievable things happen with the power of the brain, faith, you know, prayer, all of it together.
So Rachel, what was that famous book I'm thinking about? Rachel, is it Rachel Carlson? Famous book on the environment. She talked about Agent Orange, DDT, Trump Hunter. So Agent Orange was something I heard about. God, I want to say I was in high school, or I kind of like in the realm of DDT, and I guess I heard it in relation maybe to Vietnam. Was it they used it during wartime? Is that how it became known?
Yeah, they used it. It was just a very powerful weed killer. But you know what bothers me the most, and this is, I go around and talk about it.
Yeah.
It's all over the place. It's still all over the place. They just have this name for it and its ingredients. I am so against anything that's antibacterial, okay? Because it has it in it. So we're using antiperspirant. Geez, we've got all this breast cancer. We're using, you know, anti-inflammatory, the hand stuff, right? Antibacterial soap. Geez, you take a look at some of these people that use this constantly, or the what do you call those, hand purifiers that are antibacterial, and you rub it on your hand instead of soap and water. Look at their hands and the rashes that are in their hands. It's because of this ingredient. On and on and on. You know, when they came out with, you know, I'm not probably supposed to use names, but when they came out with that cleaner that you put on the floor, and it had water, and then you just mop it up, and it had all these chemicals, and you swift it away. You know, it's kind of funny how cancer increased in children and pets after that came out, like significantly. It has this ingredient in it. You know, and I always talk about using candles in your household. You know, you use petroleum-based candles. One little votive is like having your vehicle run in your household for 8 hours. People aren't educated, and that's, I feel, is my job. I go out and lecture and talk about, guys, you got to open up your eyes and you got to open up your ears and find out how you can change your household. So I'm a big one. You know, I'm really fortunate. The company I promote, we do clinical grade essential oils. So guess what my household cleaners are? Guess what I use is essential oils throughout. And so it just makes a difference when we can become educated.
You know, it's funny. The whole hand sanitizer epidemic, or idea virus, they're everywhere, and it kind of reminds me of the gluten-free campaign. Now you can buy car tires and it'll say gluten-free. So hand sanitizers. And I've read all these articles that there's a tremendous backdoor. As a matter of fact, Dr. Larry Dossey says in a recent book that, you know, back in the 50s and 60s, when one of the kids on the block didn't feel well, the parents would bring the children to the house to develop immunity. And he was saying this idea, the last thing that Louis Pasteur said before he passed away, who developed pasteurization, he talked about not in the germ, it's really in the terrain. Like what happens internally. And so this whole, and I see so many people at Whole Foods use the sanitizer, and I'm just thinking like, wow, this is really interesting. Using this chemical sanitizer, and then you mentioned the the candles. I realized that we don't get an education. I was joking with a friend of mine recently because she sprays her house with Lysol all day long when the kids don't feel good. You know what I mean? And I asked her why, and I could just see I think it says on the can, knocks out 99% of germs. So the germs are out there. We don't have a sense of what does it take internally, and what does throw our immunity off? What is immunity? I don't think very few of us have had an education, right? And so it's an interesting opportunity for the pharmaceutical companies to perhaps reinforce that. And I think what's missing, and I know your mission is to educate people on the simple things, and not just build immunity, but build true health. What are some things you might share with people? You hit upon a couple of cultural epidemics, the hand sanitizer, and I guess the basic ignorance of environmental toxins in our home. Right.
One of the worst is toothpaste. I just posted actually on my Facebook page an article today. There's on the bottom, there's a color code. It's a little strip right at the bottom of your toothpaste. And if it's red, it means it's 100% chemical. Well, guess what? All of your top names are red. Every top name on those shelves is red, okay? And so you go take a look at it. So you want to find one with a green. And I use one that's totally natural, and it has a green little sticker, or white sticker means there's nothing at all in it. People aren't educated. Anybody under the age of 12, and they're putting this red one, and they swallow it instead of spitting, which I'm sure many, many children do. You're just getting all those toxins into that baby, and they wonder why the baby's sick, or, on and on and on. Oh my gosh, we could go on for days of all the stuff that's bad out there. It's probably easier in a quicker show is let's talk about what's good. Because there's very little on the grocery shelves that's actually good for you.
Rose, what would you take on that? I guess I got educated early on that, some of these toothpaste and things, they just have awful. I think this dentist said to me once, he wouldn't rinse his mouth out in his garden. It would kill the flowers. What's been your education around this? Have you had something that you've questioned or wondered about?
Oh yeah, for me personally, I went through a whole detox process in my home. I want to say maybe 8 years ago, when I really started getting in and learning all of this. And everything, like you said, I use a lot of essential oils now. I make my own things for the floor or whatever it is. I use a lot of essential oils in any kind of healing too. If I get a cold or my daughter gets anything, so I've switched everything over. And I did find that toothpaste was one of actually the hardest ones to switch over because there were so little choices. Even in the brands that they claim are all natural and more healthy and all that, even so, you still find all of the fluoride and all of the everything else in it. Toothpaste it's a very difficult one to switch over for sure. But everything. I stopped using candles like you talked about. So many things in your house. The other ones, there are things you just can't change. At least not readily so, like the carpets, the paint that's in your walls, all the off-gassing that I didn't even know happened when you buy new furniture, for example. All that kind of stuff, it's so pervasive that to try and live cleanly and non-toxically, it's a challenge. So you do this with the people that come to you, correct? And you kind of take them through all of this?
Yeah. And I've even been known to go shopping with people. I did that at my church, and people go, "Oh, I can't live like you. I can't afford to eat how you do." And I'm going, "Bet my food bill is a lot less than yours." And I go, $2.98 can of spaghetti sauce. Well, guess what? I have a tomato, I have a pepper, I have an onion, I have a zucchini. Blend it all up. There's my sauce. That now costs me under $1. So who spent more? So I like to teach people let's go back to the basics. Let's decrease your food bill so that you can eat all these things. Sometimes I don't believe in organic. Then this probably is going to get me into trouble. I think it is one of those government scams, because how do they control the air? How do they control the leakage through the ground? On and on and on. So I don't believe there are many places in the world that are totally organic. India actually is one of them, which I do buy a lot of herbs and stuff from, and nutritional from India. But there's not in the United States, my feeling, a lot of produce that is 100% true organic. It's better. Okay, so I believe let's get makeup like your essential oil. Let's do a scrub and just scrub our vegetables, scrub, you know, our fruit before we eat it. Apples, of course, we're going to peel them, right? And so do those little things, and so you don't always have to buy the expensive organic, as long as you take precautions in eating the rest. Now, do I hate GMO stuff? Oh, you're darn right. So, you know, I have heirloom seeds, you know, for the garden, of course. You know, I've just eaten, actually, one of my cantaloupes. Oh, my goodness, what a difference from what you buy in the store. So you can do little things like that, even if you're in an apartment. You know, most people in an apartment have a balcony. They could do a little garden plot. They can do things in a, you know, if you go out and look at my garden, it's not a garden. I use old horse feeders and put dirt in and stick my seeds in. So you can use a little pot and stick a tomato plant. You can do all these little things to cut back on your food bill. And you can do, you know, all of that type of a thing. So I think, you know, that's my passion, is let's show people, you know, what they can really do.
So who would you say is ideal to come to you? I mean, do people often come to you when it's critical, when they're like, you know, I was diagnosed with cancer and I want to go an alternative route, or do they often come to you just when they have a little bit of information and they want to make a lifestyle change?
They don't come to me at all, because I don't work. All my knowledge that I have, I give away free. And this is really important. I don't think I want to work 9 to 5. That's not who I am. But if somebody calls me up and says, hey, Pat, you know, I'm having some challenges, I go, okay, what has your doctor said? That's the #1 priority. I want to know what he's saying. There's many times I get on 3-ways with the doctor saying, hey, we want to make sure we're following what you're saying. Is there stuff that we can change with the diet? But I don't charge anybody. That's just what I do. I need to pay it forward. I'm very lucky that I'm still here. You know, I came across a product 8.5 years ago, and I haven't had one sick day in 8.5 years. So that to me is God's way of saying, okay, now pay it forward and help as many as you can.
Wow. So what that product is? Because I'm sure now we're all curious. I'm like, what do you take? You've been for 8 years.
Well, that's up to Glenn if I talk about that or not. But it's just made a difference in my life. And, you know, I can tell you this, I won't be a day without it for the rest of my life. It's just been kind of fun of how it's helped my husband, all my family, everybody like that. And I even feed it to my horses, and it cut my vet bill down about 75%. And, you know, my dogs, you name it. Well, you know, if you're around me, you're going to take it.
Well, I love how Rose asked you, because it came from Rose's genuineness and curiosity. You know, what I love about you is, you know, you put your life and your contribution first. Which I appreciate a lot about you, Pat. So, you know, it's an interesting thing these days. There's so many products and so many claims about products. So, yeah, why don't you share your story? What altered in your life 8 years ago? You discovered a product that, to this day, you feel has produced profound results, and it's also allowed you to share with people, and just because I know one of your missions is to take people to the supermarket and teach them where the healthiest foods are, and mm-hmm. So it seems like you have a rich experience.
Yeah, 8.5 years ago, I was introduced to this company, and I'm like everybody else. I'm skeptical, and I'm very, very fortunate. You know, I do manufacture some of my own products for different ailments. chronic pain, different things like that, and internal problems. So I had access to an amazing chemist that helped me out with a lot of my product line. So as soon as I was introduced to this, I immediately sent the product to her and I said, okay, tear it apart. Tell me what is so bad about this product that I can go back and say, I don't have to take it because it's not good for me. Miss Edna goes, Pat, it's really kind of good and I'd like to take it too.
Oh, wow.
Like, oh, okay. So both of us got on the product, and it's, the company is called Zija, and but it's all about moringa. I am so passionate about this tree. It's in the, how do I spell it? Moringa, moringa. And Zija is the first to market it in its whole form. You can find it in the leaf variety on Amazon, eBay. But what this company did was brilliant. They took different parts of the tree: the leaf puree, seed cake, fiber, and cellulose, and they made it into an enzymatically alive, bioavailable product. And so I'm getting over 92 nutrients in my body every single day. And for me and all the challenges I had with my particular challenge, there's 36 anti-inflammatories in this tree.
Wow.
Like, it's not like taking a chemical ibuprofen. You know what I mean? It's all natural. It's got 46 antioxidants. It's got 36, the anti-inflammatories. It's got omega-3, 6, and 9, all 20 amino acids. So I'm getting the right amount of protein, all the protein into my body daily. And then what's really cool, it's got oil and water soluble vitamins. It has, oil and water don't mix. Well, it does in this tree. So, when you add all those parts of the tree together, what they did is brilliant. And I think personally for me, and I'm saying for me, it was able to go in and be able to detox the chemical out of my body. Because, within 6 months, my doctor could not find one trace of the Agent Orange in my body. Yeah. And I just got tested again here, I think it was about a month ago, and it's still not there. So, I never changed anything else. Am I making claims? No, I am not. But I can guarantee that I never took anything else while I was taking this. In fact, I stopped everything else. All right. I went cold turkey because I'm going, if this has got 92 nutrients, well, we all know that vitamins do not absorb in the body, maybe 10%. So, you'd have to eat 10 times the amount to get any benefit. And if it's a chemical vitamin, I don't want it in my body anyways, right? Our body doesn't recognize it. So I thought, okay, let's give this a good try. And I did that. And oh my gosh, like I said, no matter what, I will never be without this product.
Wow. That's an amazing testimonial that you have for yourself. After that, it's like, well, who wouldn't want to? And it's amazing that you're saying this one tree has all of that in it. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's cool. Like, whether you're biblical or not biblical, this is a really weird crooked old tree. It's really strange looking. But in the Bible, God said to Moses, throw the crooked tree in the water and it'll feed my people. It'll turn the bitter water sweet. This is the only seed that they have so far discovered that you can smush up and put it in bad water and it'll purify it within 48 hours. There's some amazing stories on YouTube. You can see the videos of how it changes. They're building water purification plants using moringa seed. Like, can you imagine in third world countries how this will be? Oh, it's just awesome.
I had something happen. Yeah, that really is amazing. So what happened about 7 months ago was I saw someone I hadn't seen maybe in a year, and I knew he was taking medications, but I didn't know why. But then when I saw him, he told me he didn't recognize me. He's probably like 68, maybe. Mm. He told me that he lost his long-term memory. And I played tennis with a guy who's written I think he's written 20 books on natural health. His name's Tom Monte. So I was telling Tom about this guy's name's John. And And then I had John read a book called Brain Longevity. And John got really curious, but he told me, this is really interesting, he told me that he couldn't treat the brain because the doctor was currently treating him for, I think it's pancreatitis, or it's enlarged pancreas.
Pancreatitis.
What's it called?
Pancreatitis?
Yeah. So what was interesting was Tom's response to this was fascinating. He said they're one and the same because he thought that what this guy's going through is diabetes of the brain, and that would totally reflect in the pancreas. And so when you talk about how this plant has all these nutrients, I realized, like, you're thinking of a whole system. And I think in a lot of medicine, it's very mechanistic. Like, we treat one thing, like we'll treat the pancreas and we don't think about the brain. Mm-hmm. I was just curious. Mm-hmm. I thought that was just interesting that the pancreas would have everything to do with the brain, whereas they're just treating the pancreas. The idea of diabetes.
We forget about the whole.
Right, exactly.
You know, Glenn, it's the whole, not the parts.
Right, right.
It's just like, here, let me tell you this story. Okay, so we all know what's happened. Okay, the dairy farmer. The dairy farmer has this most amazing milk. The pure milk nobody was lactose intolerant with pure milk.
Right.
They didn't become lactose intolerant until we started taking the parts away. So we started taking the fat out of the milk because guess what? Now we're making double the income. We're making Haagen-Dazs bars. We're making Dove bars. We're making this and that. So we're doubling our income. We need that fat back in because our brain needs it. That's why our children, we're having so much problem with the children because their brains aren't developing because they're not getting the correct amount of fat into their diet. Fat doesn't make you fat. Doesn't. It's all this chemical process stuff and the sweeteners and the white sugars, and that's what makes you fat. Real, I tell people, even diabetics, real raw organic sugar cane in small dosages is not going to hurt you one bit. Chemical, processed sugar, sweeteners, they're going to hurt you. So we really have to dissect, and stop listening to what's on television. Stop listening to those commercials. They're just out to make money. All right? They don't really care. Do you think these diet products work? Well, that's really stupid to make them work, and then they're going to be out of business. Why would they want them to work? So go back to what God gave us. He gave us real meat, real vegetables, real fruit, real milk, real food, and cut out all this processed garbage, and that's where you're going to get healthy again.
The researcher, Dr. Mary Edick, she was researching margarine, and basically she discovered butter was much healthier. But when she shared that,
totally.
She was fired. She basically was. So she went out and she kind of blew the whistle. But I was just watching something yesterday that men, for instance, they really need fat, as women do. But that's why a lot of men have low testosterone. The whole idea of separating the foods, like eating just the egg whites. We need the yolks. And I think the mentality has been this, the mentality is that somehow to get away from real foods and to separate them and to terrify people about fat. So I think the consequences have been, severe in terms of, so many people, as an example with the gluten-free campaign, they don't talk about what builds assimilation and digestion. With the peanut thing, they never talk about organic peanuts. What's distinct between them and chemicalized peanuts? It seems like we catch one idea without investigating something larger, something what influences deep health. You know what I mean?
Right.
What is that? That's kind of missing. It's kind of like Rose's, Rose is talking about what would make for more abundance on the planet. And these false ideas that we have, these cognitions, they're false, but somehow we don't see that in the mix. You know what I mean? It seems like it's a reality that we're in scarcity. So I love your business model, by the way. I love Pat's business model, Rose. It just seems like your business model is also, how would you describe your business model?
Sharing. I'm all about sharing. I don't sell nothing. I share a concept, and if you're interested in the concept and you're interested in the products and stuff, you share it. That's it. I'm probably the least pushy person that you're ever going to meet. But let me go back to just one quick second on the other. One product that really, really irritates me is canola oil. Okay, canola oil, when they're growing the rapeseed oil, to ripen it, they spray it with Roundup. So that's what people are eating, is a total chemical oil. Like, why would you put that in your body? And as you said, the peanuts, they have to spray those peanuts, and peanuts has the softest shell. So of course the Roundup and all that is going to go through that shell. And I never ever eat anything with a soft shell. And you can say organic, but once again, who knows what's in the water? Who knows what all the different things. Eat nuts that are in a hard shell that all these chemicals cannot penetrate. Those are the best for you. That's why almonds are one of the best nuts for you, because that shell is so very hard. None of the chemical, harmful chemicals can get into it.
So Roundup, it's manufactured by Monsanto. Rose, what's your take on that? A lot of people mention, a lot of people will say, as an example, like politically, like potentially Hillary Clinton's connected to Monsanto, and that's could be far worse than. I guess what's happening now, it seems like in our political debates, there's a lot of topics that are missing, including food. And Roundup, it seems like in the last, couple of weeks, a lot of people have mentioned Roundup as being I guess you could say, it reinforces the false idea of scarcity, and that people need this chemical, which therefore obligates them for other chemicals.
Yeah, Roundup and Monsanto, that's because obviously Monsanto, they were the Agent Orange creators. They created this chemical, right? Put it all over the forest to deforest in the Vietnam War. Then they came back and there was no more war. So they said, well, now we got this chemical. We own it. What are we going to do with it? All right, let's create Roundup, right? So now it's a weed killer. It's your household weed killer, this incredibly toxic, crazy thing. And then from there, they just went on. They're like, all right, well, that's not good enough. What else can we do with this? So that's when they went into all the genetic engineering, and they started creating plants that could withstand Roundup. So now you're growing these crops. You can spray Roundup on all you want, and they won't die, but everything around them will die. And then they went one step further than that, and they said, well, what if we create corn that actually creates its own Roundup from the inside out? So then they actually made the corn embedded in it, so the corn itself actually grows the pesticide inside it. So you're literally ingesting something that grows the pesticide into your body. So whether you want to, whatever side you're on of the whole GMO thing, I don't see how anyone, knowing that series of events, could say, oh, there's no problem with GMO foods. It makes perfect sense. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all, other than to the company, because they're like mad scientists, and they're like, this is brilliant. We're going to convince the world that this is what they need so that we can feed the world. Even though, of course, you can grow local food in vertical farms. I mean, there's so many things you could do that you don't need Roundup at all. And you certainly don't need to be ingesting a food that produces its own herbicides inside of you. And not to mention what it does to your bacteria in your gut and everything else. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So,
there's totally. But look at all the countries that have banned any of this GMO. We know it's all about the money. In North America, it's all about the money. But I love the European countries. I love so many they just kicked them right out. I love New Zealand. That's probably my favorite country, because there's no chemicals in that country at all. And so what's it going to take for us to, I guess it's going to take money, for us to put our foot down and say, we're done with all this. You need to change. You need to develop products that are chemical free, that are good for the environment, good for the people. You can do this. You have gazillion dollars. You could develop something. And so that's what it's going to take. But I don't think it'll ever happen in my lifetime or my grandchildren's lifetime, because they're too powerful. There's just too much money in chemicals. There's too much money in cancer. And that's just the way it is.
What's your take on that, Rose? Because with Pat Andersen, who's clearly a health crusader, educator, a demonstrator, demonstrate a new level of well-being beyond the opinions of others, including some of your doctors, I'm sure. What about this take, Rose, that what Pat says a lot of people would agree with? I think it's from a place of force, not power. That the force they have is because they're so well funded that they keep the illusion, an illusion and a lie going, which is that we need these harsh chemicals, and somehow that we need GMOs. I haven't quite and they've marketed these. They've created a marketing campaign full of lies and distortions and reinforced the notion of scarcity. So how can we, from your model, from your education, what's your take on that? How can we get beyond that model so that when we go to the store, there's real local food, and that we know when it's grown locally, the nutrients are different, and we know that when it's ripe and it's picked, it's different than when it's frozen.
Well, there's several different systems that work in conjunction to make this happen, right? We talk about the healthcare system needing cancer. That's like a huge moneymaker. We talk about the chemical companies making both pharmaceuticals and chemicals like Roundup, and then also the whole economic structure. So the thing is, if you want to think short term, I think the good news is more people are becoming more and more aware of these issues. So that is positive. And although there are still obvious problems with the organic label, even if people just think it's healthier, they're still moving that direction. So you see the mental trend, right? Because more and more people are buying organics every year and household cleaners that are non-toxic. So there's that level of it. And when we see money shift, then we see companies shift. You know, how much of a shift they make is mostly PR. But I think the fact that we're even seeing McDonald's ads coming out that are trying to pander to people that are trying to eat healthier, because I think they had to close something like 15,000 stores last year worldwide. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you look at trends like that, that's pretty positive. So I think that's in the short term. I'm a little more hopeful. I don't think it's going to take multi-generations to make this shift anymore, because we have the internet connecting us. And because we have technologies disseminating information through different channels, that's not just our TV and not just our mainstream media, that people are now taking seriously. So I think that change is actually going to shift over faster than 3 generations. Then the other thing
I hope so.
I know. I'm very hopeful there. The thing you have to look at is the system itself of the way we use economics and our idea of money, which I think money was brilliant when it took us out of bartering. You know, it solved problems for that. Currency is very good to use as an intermediary value system, but I think it's run its course. And I think the whole monetary global system, we're seeing the demise. We're seeing the end of currency as we know it. So what we move into after that is really, I think, the new challenge for my generation and probably a couple generations after me, is to say, all right, well, how can we move beyond currency? And what does that look like? What does that mean? And when you take a currency away, that's what's holding up all of these old systems. So once you really take the rug out from under them, we can move into a new model for economics. We can move into a new model for medicine. And all of these things can really take root and shift us over.
I'm inspired by that, Rose. I guess when I'm curious, I really want you to know, Pat, what I catch from you is kind of this, I catch a level of trust and integrity that you live from, and harmony. I'm curious if you were going to write a book called the Total Health Protocol, what would the beginning chapter, what would you want to leave with people today? Because I know I want to keep learning from you. Yeah, there was a book written in the 70s called The New Breed of Doctor. By Dr. Knitter, and I feel like you're a new breed of not just patient, but you're a new breed of advocate and educator. So based on what some of the things Rose said, what would you want to share with people proactively that they could do now?
Okay, my motto for 20-some years is, it's all about health naturally. And I'm a firm believer in that. What I like to do is, I don't believe in diets. I believe in weight management. I believe in being the best you can be. We're not all a size 2, okay? We don't need to be all a size 2. But I don't want you to be a size 30, okay? Because that's not being the best you can be. I believe in getting to your goal of weight that's going to have you healthy. that you're going to have the energy to play with your children or your grandchildren, to get up and move. And so that's my mission right now, is working with families to do that. You know, it just absolutely disgusts me, the obesity rate in children right now. And I absolutely get so upset seeing what children are being fed at schools, seeing what then they're fed at home. We need to, you know, if we don't do anything about that, our children aren't going to be insurable. They're going to have diabetes, they're going to have heart disease, and they don't have much of a life. There's a really good commercial from Canada, and I play it at every single meeting I go to. And it shows this young child, he's a little toddler, and he's yelling and screaming. So instead of giving him food, the mom is shutting him up with French fries. And this child becomes obese and has a massive heart attack at 18 years of age. And the doctor's looking over him and say, how did we get there? We know how we got there. We're allowing our children to spend 8 hours a day in front of the television and Game Boy instead of kicking their butt outside and making them go play. And I understand, you know, I live where, you know, I'm in 100-degree weather out here. Well, guess what? We can play with toys. We can do different things. I love Wii's. Guess what? Let's do some exercising. Put a videotape. There's lots of things we can do to get our children moving. And now I hear in so many states, I'm hearing it from teachers that I work with, that they're decreasing recess time because the kids don't want to go out and play. Wrong.
Wow, that's amazing.
Boot them in the butt and off they go. Okay, so, you know, there's so much we can do to change people's lives. There was a family here that I helped. I was in a meeting talking about my product line and everything, and they were really surly. Like, they had their arms crossed and they were scowling at me, and they weren't very nice at all. And I'm just not like that, and I'm not used to having that at a meeting. Usually people laugh and joke with me. And at the end of the meeting, they said, "Get over here because we need to talk to you." They say you need to talk to our son. And so I'm looking at this dad. And he's over 500 pounds, closer to 550. The mom's over 300 pounds. And they got a boy there that's my height and a lot bigger than I am. And I come to hear that this boy's only 6 years of age. I was so flabbergasted. The first thing, my brain and mouth weren't quite working together. And the first thing out of my mouth was, "You're creating the biggest child abuse I've ever seen in my life." These people are now really good friends.
Oh, wow.
The young boy just won the state wrestling championship. But what I did at this meeting was I said to the little boy, I said, "Do you have any friends?" He goes, "No, they call me the fat boy." I said, "Do you play sports?" "No, nobody will pick me." "Do you ride your horse?" "No, I can't get on him." On and on and on. And I just, you know, really laid it in. And I'm not normally like that, but I was so mad. I was so mad because here is a child that they have totally wrecked this child's life. And he's going to not be insurable he's 6 years old. He's not going to be insurable by the time he's 18. He's going to have a major problem. And so we went through their house, threw out all the garbage food and put them on eating properly. And as I said, he just won a wrestling championship. He has a life. He's picked all the time, and he rides his horse. He's in 4-H. That's what we can do. We can take one family at a time and change their lives.
Beautiful. How can people be in touch with you? And by the way, it'd be fun to have you on with this family sometime.
That would be fun.
I'd love that.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
How can people be in touch with you?
Oh, what for?
Well, no, I guess I think that, well, I guess, you know, you remind me of, so during the Depression, there was Vernon McFadden. He was the world's largest publisher. And he opened up a series of restaurants, and he made vegetable juice a penny a glass. And he did all these things. It's amazing. He put the crusade first. He put his health education first. And then what happened was, as you know now, in bodybuilding is all about drugs and crazy, crazy things. But back in the day, it was all about being in the sunshine and playing and understanding, expanding your lungs. And it's amazing how much more brilliant they were back then and being in tune with the laws of nature. Well, I thought some people might be interested in, like, since you're sharing this, there might be some families listening or seeing this that says, God, you know, my children.
I was only teasing you,
Okay.
Glenn.
All right. It was a good tease. I bought into it.
Okay, well, you see my name. I think the names come up there.
Okay.
My website, my personal website is just Pat Andersen, and I'm at S-E-N, not an O-N, patandersen.com. I actually have an itinerary there. People can book in, 15-minute calls with me, and it's just help them out as much as I can.
Well, you're part of my new coaching network and educational network. I'm honored to meet you. I'm only eager to speak to, as I say to Rose often, just hearing you speak today, it's the heart and the caring that comes through.
Thank
really
you.
Appreciate it.
It's fun. You know what? Life is fun. I don't know why when we go out in public, we see all these people where they're moping around and they're shuffling their feet, and I'm going, they're acting like they're 100 years old and they're younger than me, and I'm going, come on, guys, it's not like that.
All right.
You choose. You have the choice to be how you are, right? It's your choice. So it's time to choose properly, and that's what it's about.
Pat, I want to be back in touch with you. I want you to feel like. Well, I'm going to always Rose always has something wise to say in these moments. And I want to thank you. And I want to say, I feel like we're at another level of relationship now. Your warmth and energy are contagious. So I'm happy that you're in our lives. And thank you. I'm definitely going to reach out to you again. And thank you. I want to turn over to Rose. She's my words of wisdom to put together what we've experienced in this segment.
Sure. So, Pat, just thank you so much for sharing everything that you did today and for doing the work that you do. And it's really interesting, that we were talking about pulling money out from those pillars of power, from all of these big corporations and really changing things that way, because in a very big way, you're a living example of that. When people come to you, they come to you for your advice and your wisdom and everything else. And you just said, I don't charge for this kind of work. Well, that in itself, I think, is seeding a new idea of an economy. So I just want to put that out there, that I think you're definitely part of the solution in many ways, maybe in ways that you don't even see right now. So I want to thank you for everything that you do and for being here today and sharing all of your wisdom and your life and your experience with us.
Yeah, thank you. And
I appreciate that. Thank you.
It touches me what you do with families, and eager to see you again. Blessings. Thanks for being on the Forum, and of course, Unscripted Power Television. Thank you very much, Pat.
I appreciate you asking me. Bye-bye.
Bye.